everyone, welcome back for Tool Time Tuesday. I'm Melissa Muir. In this video I want to talk a little bit about rolling mills. There are so many rolling mills that are out there and people have questions all the time. Should I buy an economy one? Should I spend the money to buy a really expensive one? What's the difference between them? Now I want to talk about the 4 mills that I have personally had in my studio, how I use them and my thoughts on them. Now this is not going to be a comparison video where I'm bashing one tool over another because that's just not helpful to anyone, and I want to show you some of the things that you might want to keep in mind when it comes to making a decision of which mill to buy. Now we are going to talk about the economy version mills. We will talk about a Pepe 130 combo, a Durston 150 combo, and also my Pepe Tools dual electric rolling mills. Let's jump in and we'll talk about the economy mill first. So I'm sure you've seen a couple different variations of this mill. There's a green and a blue version out there, plus there's some that have like a cover here or over here. So there's just a couple of different variations, but they're all going to work approximately the same. In the case of this mill, we have a larger gear right here, and then we've got a couple smaller ones. Now the diameter of these rolls is only about 42 millimeters, so it's much smaller than a lot that are out there. And that just means that you're going to have to, work a little bit more in order to get your piece through. Here at the top we have our gears that are going to allow us to open and close the rollers. Now here on the opposite side of the handle we also have 2 gears. Now the depth of these gears is going to determine how wide I am able to open my rollers. So if I get too wide, they're just not going to catch anymore and you're not going to be able to roll your piece through. Now anytime I have a rolling mill, I like to keep on hand a set of feeler gauges. Now the feeler gauges are something that you can buy at the automotive store and they're only a couple dollars each. Now what you do with these is they are kind of a little pack of shims that are labeled and they will give you kind of an idea of what their thickness is. So what I want to do is I want to get my rollers so that they are perfectly level. So first thing I'm going to do in this case is remove this handle, and this one I have to kind of work out of here just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to remove that top, and then I'm able to come in and adjust my roller gap with just that top gear. So what I'm going to do is put one feeler gauge on one side, and then I'm going to put the other one on the other side. And I want to go until they are level. And then what I'm able to do is insert my handle back up here on the top. And then I can loosen this up just a little bit and roll these back out. And now I know that my roller is level. Now you'll notice that I had a little bit of difficulty with that because my mill continued to move. Anytime you have a rolling mill, you must mount it somehow. And in this case, there are 2 mounting holes. So there's one right in here and there's one back here. And so what you would do is you would just mount those onto a nice sturdy table that's going to allow you to give some pressure here as you are rolling and your mill will not move. Otherwise, it'll never work. The width of the rollers is 3 inches, so we actually have kind of a nice surface area right there. Now there's also another fun feature of this particular rolling mill that you're not going to find on a lot of the other precision rolling mills, and that is interchangeable rolls. Now in this case we have a bottom roll, and you can tell that that's this one because it's longer and meant to go through the gears, and then we have the top, and this is going to allow us to swap out our flat rolls and put in grooved rolls so that we can make square and half round wire. In addition, it comes with a patterned roller. And one nice thing about this is that you can find all kinds of pattern rollers for these mills. Now putting these rollers in is not an easy feat. It's definitely a little bit more challenging as you have to take the entire mill apart. So if you're going to change them out, I would plan for at least 20 to 30 minutes getting things opened up, swapped out, and put back in and readjusted. But it is something that's kind of fun and gives you some new options when it comes to texturing. Now these mills tend to kind of get somewhat of a bad rap. Now they don't need to have a bad rap as long as you, the artist, realizes that these can do certain things and maybe not other things. And as long as you are using this mill appropriately, you'll probably be fairly successful with it. Things to consider on that front is that this is not going to be a very good mill for rolling down an ingot. It just cannot handle it. A lot of the times the rolls themselves are hardened, but only just lightly on the surface. It doesn't necessarily go pretty deep into that roll. And so that can cause kind of a soft spot within the roll, and as you're applying a lot of pressure, maybe the roll will kind of collapse in an area or just not work well. Other times, if you apply too much force or pressure, you definitely can break this mill. The way that it is constructed is held together by some different screws. And so if you put on too much pressure, more than that screw head can hold, then you are definitely going to break this mill. But if all you're doing is trying to pattern something, maybe with some paper, you may or may not have some good results. I flatten wire all the time with this, and it works beautifully. Another thing that I've done with this is when doing some fold forming type of things, I can take this mill and change the rollers, the gap on it, so that one is tighter than the other, and that will allow me to curve my metal depending on how I put that through. So there are definitely some good things about these mills that you'll maybe want to look into. As you guys might remember, I received one of these mills a few weeks ago, and it was pretty abused. I don't think that the UPS man cared much for this mill. The mills are not meant to be dropped from like 2, 3, 4 feet. They are definitely meant to be taken care of. So if you're going to buy a mill, no matter which one you buy, do your best to not abuse that poor thing. It's here to work for you, and it will as long as you allow it to. So this mill would be a decent one as long as you make sure that you are not applying too much pressure and trying to ask of this mill what you might ask from one of the higher end mills. There's not even a comparison. They're not even in the same category. So this is a great entry level one if it's really all that you can afford, but you might want to make some considerations with what type of work you're trying to do to see if this mill would actually work for you or not. Next up is the C150 by Durston. This was my first non-economy rolling mill in my studio. This guy is beefy, he is heavy, so just be aware you might want to have somebody to be able to help you pick this up out of the box and put it into its mounted location. This mill features the wheel for turning, and this allows you to open and close your mill rollers. Now the C150 features a 150 millimeter roller. It has 100 millimeters flat surface and 50 millimeters of wire surface. Now the wire grooves are a square profile, and there are 11 of them going from 8 millimeters down to 1 millimeter. The rolls are 60 millimeters in diameter and are hardened to a 64 Rockwell hardness. They open up to 6 millimeters. In addition to that, on the opposite side, we also have the extension rollers where I have half round grooves. Now they're kind of difficult to find, but there are some hubs that have been made to put onto this extension roller, so it would allow you to change out your wire designs. This mill features a 5-to-1 gear ratio, and what that means is that when you turn your handle 5 times, you will get 1 full revolution of your rollers. You'll notice that we also have 4 screw mounting holes. Definitely, again, you want to have this one mounted. Here on this side, you also have a wire indicator. And what this does is while you are rolling your wire through, it will allow you to keep track of where you are so that you can be more effective. The Pepe Tools 130 combo. This mill is something that I've had in my studio for quite a while, and I find that it is a fantastic machine. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the features of this. We have a 4-to-1 gear ratio with 65 millimeter diameter rolls. That means that it's not going to take a whole lot of effort to impart a good impression or to roll down your ingots or whatever else it is that you are trying to do. It features different square wire grooves as well as 3 half-round grooves. We also have a section of flat on our rolling mill. It's about 2.5 inches wide. So it should be able to accommodate accommodate the majority of your pattern plates that are out there. The roll gap opens up to about 6 millimeters. The body is cast in a ductile steel. Now, ductile steel is one that's a little bit more dense, and it also makes it so that it doesn't have to be as thick. It's a little stronger. So the weight of our mill is only about 35-40 pounds. So it doesn't weigh very much, and it also does not take up too big of a footprint on my work surface. When you are mounting this, you actually have a couple of different ways. We have 4 mounting holes on either side of the outer edge of the frames, plus there are 2 inner holes. So if you have maybe a surface that you can't get to, I had a combination of 2 outer ones and one of the inner ones on one of my workbenches. So you can make sure that this is really good and secure to your work surface. Up here on the top, we have removable and adjustable guides for checking kind of our measurements as we're moving along. I find this very helpful if I need to roll down an ingot, let's say, or maybe I'm taking a sheet down and I'm making it into a thinner gauge. What I can do is set my gauge here to whatever setting I need it to be, zero this out, and then I can work towards that zero, and once I'm there, then I know I'm at the proper gauge. I have videos on that, so make sure you stay tuned for some of those. The rolling mill features a T-top handle, making it very easy to move and adjust your rolls. Anytime you receive a new rolling mill, there's usually a protective cover on these rollers, and that's to help them keep them clean while they're shipping, and it also helps to keep them rust free. So what I like to do is just kind of unroll this and take it off. Maybe, here we go. Unroll this, take it off, and you will notice that your rolls are very, very greasy. That's easily taken care of with a paper towel. And it might take you a little bit to remove everything, but like I said, it's there to help protect those rollers. Once you have them cleaned off, you will want to apply just a light film of oil, and that's going to help keep them clean and prevent rust. The rolls themselves are hardened through a heat induction process that is going to take them up to about a 64 to 65 Rockwell hardness. That means that I can roll things through non-ferrous metals without worrying about damaging my rolls. It's gonna be things like silver, copper, brass, gold, anything like that that's a little softer. If I'm going to be rolling through steel, I would make sure that I still sandwich those in something like brass or copper. Want to know how to get a really good mirror shine as you're rolling something through on your rolling mills? Well, first thing that you need to start off with is a roller that has a mirror shine. And I know that it doesn't look like it right now because we've got so much grease on this, but the Pepe rolling mills have a beautiful finish to them. And if you just put a little bit of oil, like a 3-in-1 oil type of thing, as you are rolling your metal through, it will impart a beautiful shiny polish as it goes through that mill. Now the final rolling mill, and this has been my newest rolling mill that I have here in the studio, and you'll also have to realize that there is a newer version of this that's kind of a step up from my mill as well. So this mill is the Pepe Tools double electric rolling mill. It features a forward and a reverse. I also have a speed control and an on-off. All of the electric rolling mills that I've ever worked with include an emergency stop in case you need to have something like that. In this case, mine features 2 separate rolling mills, both of which are 160 millimeters or 6.2 inches wide. The flat is just a flat one. It will open up to about 6 millimeters as well, and the roll diameter is 65 millimeters. The rolls themselves have been hardened to a 65 Rockwell hardness, so I'm really not worried about any of my non-ferrous metals damaging the mill. You still need to take some precautions when using steel inside of your mill. Now the wire portion of my rolling mill actually features several different wire profiles. And here's kind of a cool thing about the Pepe Tools rolling mills is that you can have some that are custom made for you. So if you have a configuration for the wire, you can have that done specifically just for you. So just contact them if that's something that you think you might need. My mill features some half round, triangle, small bezel or rectangle wire. Then we also have full round wire, a comfort fit or kind of that football shape profile, as well as square wire grooves. One of the things we have here on this mill is similar to the manual mill that we've talked about, is that I've got the little gauges up here that will help me so that I can figure out where I'm at when I'm rolling something. Now the thing that I really like about these mills is the fact that they are so easy to use, and because it's electric, it will give me a nice smooth roll on something. So here I have a piece of wire, and let's say that I just want to make it kind of flat. So I'll put this in, feed it through, and because of that smooth motion, I don't have any of the little juts from maybe if I were not so smooth when I'm bringing that handle around. The other thing that this mill makes it a dream is to roll out ingots. Look at that. So this is really handy because, again, we have that smooth rolling action, so I don't have any weird marks or anything like that on my metal as it goes through. Now, regardless of what mill you have, you want to maintain them. Now, this is the way that I like to maintain the rolls and clean them on my mills. I will take a wooden dowel and a paper towel, and I'm just going to feed this into my mill. I'm going to run this forward, and I want to make sure that it's not too tight, just enough that it will kind of pull it through. And again, if you're working with a manual mill, this would still be the same. And then I'm just going to take some oil. This is a 3-in-1 machine oil, and I'm just going to apply this to my rollers, and that will put it onto that paper towel so that as my mill turns, it will polish and clean that part of the rollers. You can move that around a little bit if I find that it's looking like an area needs a little bit more maybe. And I'll just run this through until I like what I see surface-wise on my mill.